Cubase video for you here, and in this one I'm going to be going over another power feature of Cubase called Chord Pads. And this one comes built into all the versions of Cubase, which is amazing. And I'm telling you, this one alleviates the need for other software that gives you the ability to trigger chords, full chords from your keyboard or from a controller like Machine. I'm telling you, you're going to want to check this out, especially if you're not a keyboard player. So let's go see what it has to offer. And what I'm thinking in the future is maybe I will make a pack of chord pads available, because you can make presets for this and then you guys could download them or buy them or whatever I decide to do. So I'll put something in the description if I end up doing something like that. For now, I'm going to show you how you could take chords, how you could manipulate the ones that it comes with, and then also how you could put in your own chords if you wanted to. So let's get right into it. So as you can see here, I'm using the Amped Electra. Comes with the latest version of Absolute, and it's a really nice little electric piano. And I am going to open up the chord mode area down at the bottom. So you click this little button or Command Option B key command, go over to Chord Pads down here. So the way it works is you have these little squares here, and you can see them kind of line according to the notes on the keyboard. So if I go down to my C1, you can see that I'm playing the chords in sequence as they go up the chromatic scale. What is so fantastic about these? Well, so we have these default chords. We go over to the left-hand side here and we can click this functions menu and we can say, all right, let's transpose all pads. This looks like it's kind of in the key of C. We've got C, D, E minor, F, G7, and A minor. And then we've got some sort of alternate chords up top that are kind of related to the key of C. Not too far away from the key of C. So we could say, let's put this in the key of E flat. So we go up 3 semitones. Now we've got the same thing, but in the key of E flat. You can hear the notes changing a little bit as I go through these chords. And what it's doing is something called adaptive voicing. And so what that means is when you go from one chord to the next, if AV is turned on up here in the top corner, that means when you get to the next chord, it's going to choose a voicing or a selection of notes that is pretty close to the last chord. And what's so brilliant about this is, as piano players, we try to make sure that when we jump from one chord to the next, we're not doing these huge jumps on the keyboard. So when I play an E flat triad, when I go to the A flat chord, I can get to the A flat chord without moving very far. And then I can do the same thing with the B flat. And then I go up to the C minor. And then if I go back to the E flat, I could play an E flat triad without moving my hand very far. So this is getting pretty complicated with music theory, but when you use adaptive voicing, it's going to do that all for you kind of automatically if you want it to. We'll see how later on I might just turn that off and decide, no, I want this pad to be a very specific chord. We have a few other controls that I can talk about really quickly right here as well. And that's, if you look on each pad, we've got these little buttons right here, and that says voicing. So if I play that first pad, I can click this button, up an arrow, and you can hear as I keep going up, it's moving this E flat position up the piano and keeping the root down at the bottom. And if we go the other way, you can hear it going down the keyboard as well. So that's how you go through and change the voicing of your chord. And you can see that these other little dashes down here are changing on these other chords as well. And that's because they are adapting to be somewhere close to whatever voicing I just changed on this E flat. Another thing that we have right here is these little green keys. And you can see these green keys correspond to something as well. If I click the settings button again, we can see that the C#2, this one right here, is going to change the voicing up. So it's the same thing as pushing that little up arrow on the pad. And then C2 goes down the other way. So we can do that with the keys just by pressing them. I'll show you that in a second. We can also then D#2 and D2, these two keys right here, are going to add tensions, which we haven't looked at yet. And then we can also transpose a chord by pressing F2 or E2 to go up or down. And so let's see what that looks like. So if I go to C2, these ones right here, you can see it going back and forth. So let's play E, So that's using the keys themselves to change the voicing, and you can do that in real time as you're playing along. So if you want to change the chord, just hit one of these other keys and it will change the voicing for you on the fly. Next we have the add tension, which is the same thing that we have down here at the bottom. So tensions start, we've got an E flat major chord. We can start adding tensions by clicking and we get the 9, which adds an F. So don't worry too much about what that means, but the next one we've got is a 6. The next one we've got is a 6-9 chord. We've got the E flat major 7, which adds the 7th in there. So things are getting a little bit more complex as we go. Next we've got E flat major 7 with a 9. And then we've got the 13, the sharp 11. So if we want to change this to something like a dominant 7 chord, we can click this triangle right over here, opens up the chord editor. And in the chord editor, we can then go, you know what, I want to make this one E flat major, but this little thing right here, this J7 is the tension that's going to change this from a dominant 7 chord to a major 7 chord. And one little note on this, if you end up on a diminished chord, if you know what a half diminished 7 chord is, in order to get a half diminished 7 or a minor 7 flat 5 chord, then you would set it to this top 7. And if you want a fully diminished 7 chord, then you click this little tension button right here, J7. But what I would suggest is if you don't know a lot about chord music theory, you could go find somebody's suggestions for really cool neo-soul chords or something like that, and just punch in a bunch of these fancy chords without even knowing what they are. You do have to know how to get there, and that's what I'm showing you right here. It's E flat major 7. This is going to be a major 7 chord. This is going to be a dominant 7 chord, and then we add the other tensions above that, which sound awesome. And yeah, so we'll get into some of those more complex chords in a little bit, but that's how you go and choose your chords. So we've got E flat minor 7, and if we do this, we get E flat minor major 7. So that's a chord where you've got, what does that sound like? Sounds like an old spy movie, right? That's a minor triad with a major 7 at the top. These are the tensions right here. So if you want to get to those tensions from the keyboard itself, you can use the D and the D sharp. Keep pressing the D sharp. It goes all the way through the complexities or the tensions of the major 7 chord. Now, these chords aren't that exciting, and what I want to show you is how we can get some more fancy chords that maybe you'd never come up with on your own, or you'd never be able to play on your own. And that's these chords with these 7s and 9s and sharp 11s and stuff like that. And stuff that as jazz musicians, we spend years training to be able to play these chords. And I'm not encouraging people to use the technology to take the place of hard practice and hard work and stuff like that. But this is kind of the gateway into this world. And once you get a little taste of it, you're going to want to know more. And so at that point, I recommend that you start practicing, get some lessons, get lessons from people online, but spend time practicing every day and getting better at your craft. But let's see how we can make this stuff, this technology work for us. Something occurred to me as I was playing with this. I was thinking, what if I wanted more chord pads? Would I have to make another chord pads track? And no, there is a way for you to get twice as many chord pads as you have right here. So right now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 chord pads. So watch this. If we go down to the settings and we go to the pad layout and we go leave it on keyboard and we're going to go 2 octaves, we can go to our pad remote control and say pad remote range start, and we're going to start it at C0. We've got twice as many chord pads. So this is beautiful. I can't see myself needing more than this. Next thing I want to do is show you some of these presets. So I'm going to go load chord pads preset, and in here we've got some really interesting ones. So if you go a lot of 9, you just click on it once and you're going to see it as a little preview. So kind of an interesting arrangement of chords already. I'm going to put a 5-star on that one because it just does sound really nice. Let's try another one. Oh, this looks really basic. This one here is one of my favorites, and I think we're going to play around with this one a little bit. Sounds pretty good, but I am not super happy with a couple of the chords in here. I'm going to go with an interesting little progression here. I'm going to make this a G, but I'm going to make it G major, and I'm going to make sure it's dominant. Then I'm going to set this to a sharp 5 or a flat 13. I really like the sound of that. And then maybe let's do the same thing to this one right here. Let's click this one, and we're going to make that one major, and then let's make it a different tension. Let's try. So we got sharp 11 and flat 13. How would you come up with this on your own? If you're new to jazz theory, you probably won't. Go online, find yourself some chord progressions that somebody suggested for sort of jazzy neo-soul kind of stuff, and then try punching those in to the chord pads. Next thing you can do, once you've punched in the basic ones, or if you're using just like a template like this one here, is I can then click on this chord, and you hear how that's changing? Let's say I really like that tension. I'm going to hold Option, the copy command for everything in Cubase. I just tried this to see if it would work, and of course it does. Option drag. I love how Cubase has functionality built into so many different facets of the program. So it's like Option drag, sure enough, copy that over to a different pad. This is stuff we can't do in a lot of different programs. So I like this voicing right here. If I like that voicing, I'm going to right click and I'm going to take it off adaptive voicing, and I'm just going to lock it. What that means is from now on, that's always going to be those exact notes. So let's try these ones. Let's take this one down a notch. So I'm going to use the key to do that, which is C2. Let's take that one right there. I'm going to lock that one. And then let's maybe take this one and we'll take it up a couple notches. That's kind of fun. Let's do that. So we'll lock that one. So now we've got 3 different voicings. That's pretty cool. So we could do kind of a little riff with that. But maybe what I'll do is I'll take this one and lock it. And then I'm going to Option drag this one up here. So it's the same chord, but we'll take it up another voicing. Ooh, that's fun. We're going to lock that one. And then you know what, this one here, I feel like the A minor 7, the key of C minor, we'd have an A flat major chord. So I'm going to click on that one. We'll change that to A flat or G sharp major 7. And then maybe we'll throw in a 9 on that one. But we'll make sure it's major 7. There we go. So now we've got that sounds really nice. I'm going to lock that one, and then we're going to copy that down to this pad, and then we're going to try changing the voicing a little bit on this one. Well, that sounds nice. We'll lock that one too. Whoops. Lock that one down right there. Another common technique when you're playing with neo-soul type stuff anyways, is to take something like a minor 7 chord and just to transpose it down a semitone or up a semitone. So we could take this chord right here. So I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to use my key command here to just take it down a semitone, lock that one, and then let's copy it over here, and then we're going to do the same thing, raise this up 2 semitones, so now it's a C sharp. And then we're going to lock that. So now we've got this interesting thing. It's just kind of interesting. If we had some cool groove going with that, that'd be a lot of fun. But you can see how easy it is for me to go through and manipulate these chords to something that works for the idea that I have, or maybe the idea that I've been given. Now, how sweet would it be to just have a whole pack of these, right? So yeah. Anyways, you save these as a preset, and then somebody else could use them on their own projects. So another incredible feature of these chord pads is that, of course, you can go assign pad for MIDI input. So I can right click on this track right here and I can go, all right, let's play a C minor with a 9. And then there it is right there. It just draws it in for us. So if you know some funky chord positions, you can play those in, or maybe have a friend come over who's really good at keyboards, drop in a bunch of chord positions for you and build up a nice little chords preset while you have them in the studio. And then you can go and then play with those yourself after the fact. So this is all fun, but what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to load up Groove Agent and we're going to pull up the purple expansion. I've got a video on that. I'll put a link to that in the description, so make sure you watch that. And I'm just going to get a little beat going here with that for this little idea. Okay, so here I'm using the BRAP kit, and I'm just going to click on pattern and drag this onto a track. And then we're just going to play along a little bit and see what this feels like. All right, so there we go. We've got some little progression. That took me more than just one stab, by the way. Anyways, so now we can see all of this note information that was just generated. We could go in and sort of mangle these up a little bit. Maybe I'll select all of them and just do an iterative or a soft quantize, as they call it now. So now we've got these complex chords in here. And so what we'll do is we'll do another video where we talk about scales. But in this one, I do want to just show you very quickly how we could take what we've just done on the chord pads and then apply that to something like a bass line. Now we command and right click on this information if you're on a Mac, or control right click, I think, on a PC. And then we're going to go right down to where it says create chord symbols. And because I wasn't using the sustain pedal, I don't need to have that one selected. I hit OK. And then up top, we can see a whole bunch of chords that were generated just from what we played on the chord pads. I'm going to turn the scales off. That's this little button right here. So that all we're seeing is the chords. Now we can see if this kind of did the right. Looking good so far. And then we go to the part where we changed it up. Perfect. So all the chords have been analyzed. And by the way, the coolest things about these chord pads is if you want another chord somewhere in a section of your song, say at bar 17, I can just drag this chord pad right up here, drop it, and it's going to put that chord onto my track. Watch what happens if I drag it onto an empty space. You'll see that it even gets the name, so you could just drag a bunch of these really cool chords and have them all named, and you could, copy them, whatever, move them around, and play with them that way. So there's a whole bunch of different ways for you to work with this information, but it's just extremely powerful. So now let's just go to a retro log, and we're going to find a decent bass patch here. Sounds of Soul. Well, that sounds nice. Let's just go with that one. So what we want to do here is we want to play a bass line, but some of you are going, yep, but Jeff, I don't play keyboards. That's okay. So what I'm going to do, and this is a little tip I got from my good pal Nico. He's a Cubase genius, and his suggestion was to use the chords to change the notes as I'm playing them. So we go to live input, and I go to chords right here, and then now all I'm going to do is play an octave between these two C's right here. And we're going to see what happens as we play along. And then I'm also going to make sure I mute the chord track, because I don't actually want it to do anything to my bass track. I just want to play the bass track. So let's go and play along. all I was playing the whole time was 2 C's an octave apart. And kind of playing in with the rhythm of what I had in there, but the chord track was taking care of all the notes for me. So you'll see if I double click on that, now you can see it's gone through and it's fixed the notes to the root of of the chord as I was playing it. So I guess just if it's one single note, it goes to the root. I'm not sure, but man, that worked extremely well. Check it out right here on this section of the song. Maybe I want this one to go up the octave, and then this one to go down the octave. So now we just shift up and down, by the way. Nice. Sounds really good. Some kind of lead synth, so hang on. Nice. Okay, so maybe you need a little bit of music theory and a little bit of jazz training to get to those scales, but I'm thinking of making a really complex scales theory video in the future. So make sure you check back for more of those. But I really hope this dive into the chord pads is going to help you out, especially if you're not an accomplished piano player and you realize the power that is in these chord pads with the chord track and what you can do with it with not a whole lot of hard work. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell. And thanks so much for watching. I'm not getting paid to make these videos. They send me the updates for free. But if you want to help me out, I do have a little tip jar in the description. So thanks so much for helping there. And we'll see you in the next video.